My husband and his friends thought it would be amusing to leave me stranded in a small Italian town after an argument. Let's see how she gets back. They laughed, driving away. I didn't return for a month. By then, he found me in Greece. I was already starting over. Gabriel's laugh cut through the evening air as he slammed the car door. The tail lights of our rental car disappeared around the bend of the narrow Italian street, leaving only dust and the echo of his friend's laughter. I stood frozen, mid-sentence, as the argument we'd been having outside the cafe suddenly felt irrelevant. "He's coming back," I whispered, drawing curious looks from locals enjoying dinner at sidewalk tables. But the knot in my stomach tightened as minutes stretched into hours. The sky darkened over a town whose name I couldn't even pronounce. Before I continue, I want to thank you for being part of this journey. If you are drawn to stories of women finding strength after betrayal, consider subscribing. It's free and supports stories of resilience. Now let's see how one woman turned an act of cruelty into the start of her freedom. When I asked Gabriel not to drink so much at lunch, I never imagined it could escalate this far. His friends, college buddies at their annual reunion, egged him on. When I suggested returning to the hotel, one friend teased, "She's always controlling." Gabriel ordered another round. When I stood to leave, he followed, slurred but angry. Old resentments erupted quickly. "Your purse has your passport, right?" he sneered. "Then you'll figure it out. You're always telling me what to do." Night fell. The charming town now felt threatening. I had €80, barely enough for a night's lodging, certainly not a flight home. My credit cards were in Gabriel's wallet. He had offered to carry them earlier. I found the cheapest pension above a bakery, a narrow bed, a small sink. The elderly woman guiding me spoke no English, but seemed to understand, patting my arm sympathetically. I whispered. He blocked me, staring at my phone. 27 calls to Gabriel, all voicemail. Texts were read but ignored. I tried his friends, Pete, Marco, all blocked. The realization struck. This was not impulsive, but deliberate humiliation. Sleep came in broken fragments, punctuated by hope and panic. By morning, I imagined Gabriel returning, apologetic yet ready to blame me for overreacting. I would be angry but relieved, returning to our life in Boston. He a respected architect. I his supportive wife who had put her own career aside. But he didn't come. On day 2, I rationed my remaining money and scouted hotels and restaurants for any sign of the tour group. By evening, it became clear they had moved on to Florence without me. On day 3, a kind cafe owner offered free espresso and, in broken English, directions to the police station. The officer, unsurprised, took a report, leaving me with nothing but sympathy. That afternoon, I made the hardest decision of my life. In front of a cramped pawn shop window, I twisted off my wedding ring. The 2-carat diamond Gabriel had upgraded on our 5th anniversary. The shopkeeper offered less than its worth, but enough to fund the next step, wherever that might be. America? Call family? Explain myself? Face my mother's "I told you so." My finger hovered over my father's contact. One call could return me to a life in which I had gradually made myself smaller for Gabriel. Memories surfaced, him hiding my portfolios. When I mentioned returning to design work, "Why complicate things?" he'd said. "We don't need the money. I need you focused on our life." I had laughed then. Now at the grimy bus station, I recognized it as another fence in the pen he'd built. "Where do you want to go?" asked the ticket agent. "Greece," I answered. 14 hours later, I stepped off the final bus, stiff from travel, into a village whose name I could not pronounce. My phone had died, my stomach ached, and the weight of what had been done to me pressed down. Exhaustion blurred my vision. Rage, fear, and a flicker of unexpected liberation swirled within me. My remaining euros would cover perhaps 2 nights in the cheapest room. Beyond that, I had no plan, no friends, no local language skills, except for please and thank you. Yet, as the sunset painted the Aegean gold and pink, calmness settled over me. Gabriel meant to teach dependence. Instead, he had accidentally set me free. The Greek sun beat down as I wandered. Blisters formed on my feet, my water bottle long empty, dehydration, and hunger making the world tilt. Silver-green olive trees lined the dusty path, their leaves shimmering in the breeze. My knees buckled. Darkness edged my vision. A woman's voice broke through my haze. Hands helped me up. Elena, elderly and strong, guided me to a farmhouse among the olive trees. Inside, the kitchen smelled of herbs and simmering food. She introduced me to Nikos, her husband. They gave me water, soup, and a simple room. Exhausted, I slept deeply. Morning brought fresh bread, clean clothes, and strong coffee. Embarrassment washed over me. They had welcomed, fed, and clothed me without question. I tried to pay, but they gently refused. Over the next days, I slowly integrated into their life. Elena taught me to collect eggs, hang laundry. Nikos showed me the garden. Physical work replaced the curated life I had known. My body, unused to labor, protested at first, but with each day my strength and skill grew. Mental torment from betrayal, quieted, replaced by tangible tasks. At night, on the porch, Elena knitted, Nikos smoked his pipe, and I found moments of peace. Betrayal still stung, but surrounded by olive trees and rhythm of rural life, it felt less like an ending and more like a new chapter. 2 weeks later, Elena asked if I wanted to go home. America. I pictured Boston, our sleek brownstone, designer furniture, Gabriel's controlling habits, subtle discouragement of friendships, dismissal of my career. Tears fell as I spoke, emotions transcending language, about betrayal, years of self-suppression, and humiliation. Elena's hand covered mine. She pointed to her heart, the farm, and finally to me. I had a place here if I wished. I decided to stay. The next morning, Elena gave me work clothes, and together with her and Nikos, I joined the olive grove at dawn. Under her guidance, I learned proper harvesting techniques, strengthened my hands, and built endurance. Each day, my skill improved, as did my understanding of quality, with gentle corrections from Elena and Nikos. Beyond the groves, Elena taught me cooking. Unlike Boston's precise recipes, her methods relied on experience and intuition. My first loaves were imperfect, but she encouraged tasting every attempt. Mistakes were stepping stones to mastery. Meals, sourced entirely from their land, transformed my body. Designer clothes grew loose. Unnecessary weight melted away, and my skin glowed with health. Through this simple, honest life, I found strength, independence, and peace. Betrayal had forced me into the unknown, but in that foreign village, I discovered resilience, skill, and freedom I never could have imagined. When I caught sight of myself in the small bathroom mirror, a stranger looked back, tanned, stronger, somehow more substantial, despite weighing less. As my Greek vocabulary grew, Elena and I discovered new ways to communicate beyond work and meals. During evening breaks, she brought out photo albums, showing black and white images of her youth in the village. I was surprised to learn she had been a schoolteacher before returning to her family's olive business after marriage. "You?" she asked, mimicking typing on a keyboard. I showed her photos of my interior design projects from before marriage, the career Gabriel had dismissed as a hobby. Elena studied them with genuine interest, pointing to elements she liked and murmuring appreciative sounds. "Beautiful," she said, tapping her temple. Her validation of my creative work brought tears to my eyes. It was such simple acknowledgement, yet something Gabriel had gradually withdrawn over the years. One rainy afternoon, Elena taught me to knit. Her patience seemed endless, as I dropped stitches and produced uneven rows. My first project, a simple scarf, lumpy and imperfect, was entirely my creation. I wrapped it around my neck, with more pride than I had felt wearing the designer cashmere Gabriel had given me for Christmas. Other handmade items followed. A clay mug shaped under Nico's guidance, A woven basket I learned from a neighbor. Each object carried hours of learning and connection, stories that no purchased luxury could match. My attachment to perfection diminished as my collection grew. After 3 months of work without pay beyond room and board, Elena approached me with Nikos. They led me to the small building where they pressed and bottled their olive oil, showing me the modest inventory we produced from our harvest. You come, Elena announced, pointing to the calendar. The village market bustled with activity. Farmers and artisans displayed goods, while locals and tourists wandered among the stalls. Elena and Nikos set up their simple table, arranging bottles of golden green oil alongside olive soap and jars of preserved olives. To my surprise, they positioned me at the front, encouraging me to speak with customers. My broken Greek and their limited English led to moments of confusion and laughter, but sales steadily grew. As the market closed, Elena handed me an envelope. Your part, she said simply. Fair work, fair pay. The modest sum might cover only a meal at the restaurants Gabriel and I had frequented, but it represented something I hadn't felt in years. Independence earned through my labor, no strings attached. That night, I placed the envelope under my pillow, reaching for it occasionally to confirm its reality. In our decade of marriage, Gabriel had controlled finances to simplify things, leaving me dependent. This small stack of euros was the first step toward a life fully my own. During market day, I hadn't thought about Gabriel once. My mind focused on Greek phrases, transactions, and pride in our products. The space he once occupied in my thoughts had shrunk, replaced by olive groves, kitchen lessons, and the growing certainty that I was capable of far more than he had allowed. The following week, Elena and Nikos invited me to dinner at the village taverna, my first since arriving, dressed in a borrowed blouse. I felt a nervous flutter entering the bustling establishment. The owner, Stavros, greeted them enthusiastically, then turned to me, our American. Elena proudly said in Greek, a phrase I had learned to recognize. Stavros smiled warmly, ushering us to their usual table. Over plates of grilled fish and local wine, Nikos spoke carefully in English. Alexis, we want to talk business. I froze, unsure if I had made a mistake. Elena reached across and patted my hand. We are old now, Nikos continued, gesturing between himself and Elena. No children, Sophia not coming back. He indicated their ages, 68 and 70, then swept a hand toward the olive trees. 200 years old, need young hands. I realized the offer. They were proposing I take over part of the business. You learn fast, work hard, we teach everything, Elena added, spreading her hands. I hesitated. I don't know enough. Nikos nodded firmly. You learn, no rush. That night marked the start of my true apprenticeship. No longer just an extra pair of hands. I became heir to generations of knowledge. Each morning, Nikos led me through the groves, explaining how soil variations affected flavor, how to spot early signs of disease, and when to harvest each section. Elena taught me the business side, handwritten ledgers, basic spreadsheets their grandson had set up. I spent evenings updating the system, creating digital records that simplified inventory and sales tracking. One night, showing Elena how to filter sales data by product, she nodded approvingly. Smart, Boston lady brain, good for business. With their blessing, I implemented small marketing improvements, hand-labeled bottles, updated with flavor profiles, a simple brochure about their traditional methods, and connections forged with the community. The pharmacist, the baker's wife, and even Stavros at the taverna became allies, promoting our olive oil to locals and tourists alike. 6 months in, I attended my first village baptism, the community accepting me as one of their own. Invitations to events, gatherings, and committee meetings followed, weaving me into the village network. Yana, the weaver next to our market stall, became a close friend. She was sharp, pragmatic, and widowed, reminding me of my college roommate. One afternoon, as we packed unsold goods, she asked quietly. You never speak of America? The question struck me. I had been so focused on building this life that thoughts of my old one had been pushed aside. My parents were gone, a few friends scattered. Gabriel had slowly isolated me from my support network. The husband who left you in Italy, she said. You never say his name. Gabriel. I spoke it aloud. The word felt foreign after months of silence. That evening, I powered up my old phone, connecting to the farmhouse's basic Wi-Fi. I logged into long-neglected accounts, hundreds of unread emails, old friends, checking in, expressing concern. A thread from my former design mentor caught my eye. A remote consulting position with a sustainable building materials company, still open. Then another Gabriel Davis. Subject line, I know where you are. Heart racing, I opened it. Alexis, after months and a private investigator, I finally tracked you to Greece. I'm coming to bring you home. Flight lands Thursday. Be ready. Panic and anger collided. After abandoning me, months without word, he expected to collect me like luggage. I stumbled downstairs, phone in hand. Elena looked up from her ledger. Bad news from America, she asked gently. Gabriel, I said, he's coming Thursday. Her smile faded slightly. She slid an envelope across the table. Legal papers, written in Greek with English translations. Partnership agreement. 1/3 business. Not just employment, but ownership. I held the document, realizing its significance, earned recognition, a foundation for a life I chose. You have home here, business here, friends here, Elena said firmly, tapping the papers. Truth settled over me. For the first time since Italy, I felt anchored. Gabriel was coming, but he would find a very different woman than the one he had left behind. The following days were preparation, not for him, but for myself. Visiting the village lawyer to draft divorce papers, accepting the remote consulting opportunity, reconnecting with friends. Thursday arrived under a perfect Greek sky. I was testing olive oil samples with Nikos when the sound of a rental car engine broke the quiet. Elena appeared. He is here. Heart hammering. I stepped outside. Gabriel stood by a sleek silver sedan, designer sunglasses, visible distaste at the humble farmhouse. For precious seconds, I steadied myself. This man, once my world, now seemed smaller against ancient olive trees and stone buildings that had become my home. Gabriel, I called, calm. Shock registered on his face, as his eyes scanned my work boots, sun-browned arms, unstyled hair. My God, Alexis, what happened to you? Life happened, I replied, stepping forward. This isn't set about making a point. It's set about making a life. I gestured toward the groves. I stepped in part owner now. I have a business here. Disbelief and condescension crossed his face. A business, Lexus, be serious. You stir a designer, not a farmer. Some eat pray love phase. I admit I shouldn't said have left you in Italy. It was a drunken mistake. Apologized. Now it sets time to come home. Apologized? When does tracking me down and demanding I return count as an apology? His jaw tightened. Fine. I sipped sorry I left you in Italy. Immature and wrong. Is that what you want to hear? Can we move past this? Why now? I asked. Why did you even look for me months later? He hesitated. Parents, friends, clients, wondering why you sipped or not home. Bad for your image. Damaged your reputation, our life together. I countered, the one where I became nothing more than an accessory to your success. Did you even notice how unhappy I was before Italy? We had a good life, beautiful home, financial security, respect in the community. What more could you want? Purpose, connection, agency over my choices. I said, gesturing to the stone house behind me. I found all three here. You wouldn't choose manual labor and poverty over comfort, he insisted. I smiled. That woman died in Italy. The Alexis standing before you made different choices. Elena approached, pressing the signed partnership agreement into my hand. Gabriel saw it. I added the divorce papers, already filed, into his grasp. I was one mufoi and L playing anything away. I stepped Tuvin, there's something real. I stepped forward. You left me, Gabriel. You drove away laughing. You didn't expect I stepped find my way without you. His face flushed, anger and wounded pride crossing in turn. You'll regret this, he said. Maybe, I admitted. But I sit rather risk regret from choices I made than live with the certainty of regret from choices made for me. Nick stepped forward, placing a hand on my shoulder, signaling closure. The road back to Athens is dangerous after dark. You should leave now. Gabriel looked between us. No negotiation, no rescue. He drove off, divorce papers in hand. Elena slipped her hand into mine. Together the three of us turned toward the house. My house, my home. Gabriel had assumed I'd be helpless, that I'd return once taught a lesson. Instead, I had found fertile ground to plant new roots, stronger and deeper than he could imagine. Sometimes cruel actions yield the greatest gifts. Trying to break me, Gabriel had accidentally set me free.